Hi guys, my name's Harvey Toadface and welcome to an update video on my Warriors deck. The footage playing is footage from a very odd game I was playing where I was trying out a new mono-white lifelink deck. But we're not here to talk about that deck today, we're here to talk about the opponent's deck. His deck was a red-white Warriors deck, much as what I run, but it was how this game panned out that led me to realise what my deck was missing. We hit Mythic right at the end of last season, but then once we hit Mythic we were soundly beaten in our first few games in Mythic. I've been spending some time looking over the games and looking at how and why my deck was beaten. Make some minor changes here and there, then this game happened. I know it may seem like a little bit of a reach, but this was an enlightening moment that made me realise where my existing deck was going wrong. When I initially crafted my deck, it was more of an aggro style deck in my mind. But if you look at the cards, it wasn't the most aggro it could have been, especially when you compare it to a mono red goblins deck, for example. So it was basically an early mid-range deck that didn't have that much mid-range threat. Yes, we can get a Hallow Blade with Maul of Skyclaves attacking on turn 3, but it's not necessarily aggro, and at the higher levels is easily snaffled with some removal and enchantments. At the higher levels, it's a nuisance for a turn or two at most, but then it's solved. So after re-watching the game, looking at what my opponent did, two things occurred to me. One was I need to craft my deck for its style. I need this deck to actually be a mid-range deck. And once I'd figured that out, I needed to work out what my mid-range threat was. Currently, it's just having a Hallow Blade with Maul of Skyclaves, then get Embercleaved, which although is a valid win condition, it's one that's easily solved at the higher levels. I tried adding other threats like Chandra and utilising Winota, and they never really happened when I played. So the deck I ended up having lacked any other real ideas apart from having things on the board, which again is easily solvable with a one-card removal spell. So and then this game happened, and he cast Morag, Fury of Akum. And then I realised that was the mid-range threat I needed. So that card, what it does, when you play a land, it gives you a second attack phase in the same turn. Now, if I've got a few creatures on the board that are equipped and things like that, it can all of a sudden lead to quite a lot. This game showed me also I've been utilising equipment poorly. I would previously just equip a creature and leave it on the creature. I don't know why I hadn't considered moving them off a creature once it attacked, for example, but my opponent utilised it very well in this game. It's something that I will look to do in the future. I also realised the value of Shadow Spear. Shadow Spear was an equipment I had in my deck in the very first guise of the deck, but I discarded it fairly early on. I preferred having things like Relic Axe because it auto-equipped. How I hadn't considered Shadow Spear on an Embercleaved creature before is beyond me, but you can see he really utilises this to get the double strike lifelink combination to really boost his life totals up to some ridiculous numbers. It's super easy, especially even if you don't have the Embercleave. Even if you just have a core Blade Master out, it will give the same effect. So if you equip it to a Seasoned Hallow Blade, you could easily be gaining 8 life in one turn. So with that being said, we've updated the deck fairly drastically. We've added in some Blade Masters. We've taken out one of the Hallow Blades and Intimidators. We've added in 2 Shadow Spears. Various other warriors have left, such as the Teeterbeak, Ambusher and the Expedition Champion. Winota and Chandra are also gone. So coming back in Zekis, we're going to run some Akiris for the draw as we're going to have more equipped creatures. Also, Morag comes into the fray and we're up to 24 land from 23. We've also started on a sideboard as I've been playing traditional rank 2. The advantage of playing traditional ranked over standard is that you get 2 pips for a win, and also it's easier if you have a decent sideboard to counter other threats because you get a second chance at it. So on the sideboard we have 2 Relic Axes, we have some removal in Passivism, Scorching Dragonfire and Molten Blast. We also have 2 Shatter the Skies which clears the board, and we also have an Elspeth's Conquered Death. The last card on the sideboard is a Tormod's Crypt. This is only there in case we encounter mill decks that run Thieves Guild Enforcer. This is the traditional blue-black mill that have Lurrus as the companion. The idea of that is we can just exile our graveyard, which will weaken his creatures and spells, such as Drowning the Lock, or we can exile his graveyard and then he doesn't have anything to get back with Lurrus. Another consideration I've been having for the deck is to add Lurrus in. I've not done it yet, but I'm thinking it could be useful to get back a core Blade Master out of the graveyard and then give all my equipped creatures double strike. But for now, I'm going to play test more of what I have as I once again try to climb through the ranks and hit Mythic. I think the main takeaway from this has been, if you're looking to improve, record your gameplay and watch it back. I'm now recording pretty much every game I play, and if it's an interesting game, I save the file, give it a name that reflects what game it was, and I save it later for review. It's important to both look at wins and losses, so you can understand where your deck's performing well and where it isn't. It's easy to get a little lost when you're tweaking a deck. You think changing 1 or 2 cards isn't going to have that much impact, but then when you do that 3 or 4 times, all of a sudden you've changed a large amount of your deck, and the deck plays quite differently. Sometimes you need to find a moment, step back and work out what your deck's actually about, how it's meant to play, and then are you achieving that? Thankfully, this happened to me after this game. So on the screen now is my final deck and sideboard. There's also an untapped GG link in the description to import the deck if you want to. Now, I know this was a different kind of video, but I wanted to showcase this strange game and use it to discuss the importance of remembering the main style of the deck. Changing a couple of cards here and there may not seem that drastic, but again, once you've done it a few times, you've changed a good portion of your deck, and it changes how the deck plays. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.